Please don't forget to subscribe, because a lot of people that watch my videos don't subscribe apparently, and hit that bell so you stay informed with the latest and greatest videos from this channel. I'm also live every day on twitch.tv/Hasanabi after 11 a.m. Pacific. Steven Crowder, after accusing black people of being racist against white people, Steven Crowder declares slavery was never racially motivated.
That actual racism, meaning that you have, not necessarily you view them as inferior, but a predetermined negative worldview of someone because of their race, can happen in any group of people. And I do think actually we're probably at a point where it happens more. You probably have more black people right now because of what they're being fed by the media, who have a preconceived, incorrect, negative idea of what white people are than white people maybe have of black people. I don't know.
Dude, this is so awesome. It's so good. It's a self-report, okay? It infantilizes black people. Like, it literally is like, yeah, black people didn't realize white people were racist until the media told them that was the case, you know? Like, and when there were less media, when the media did not exist as a matter of fact, like during, you know, the pre-abolition era, pre-Reconstruction era, for example, black people were like, white people are so nice to us. That's what they were doing. They didn't even want to be freed, right? That's like, you know, again, when a lot of racist people, whenever they talk about black people, they basically reveal their perspective on how black people are. They treat them as a monolith. These are quick, like, things that you can figure out about a person, okay? Immediately acting like black people are a monolith, or infantilizing black people and saying that, like, you know, black people cannot independently come to the conclusion that, like, you know, some white people are fucking racist or the system is racist, without the media telling them that is the case. And also on top of that, the media is teaching black people to be racist against white people.
Can happen in any group of people. And I do think actually we're probably at a point where it happens more. You probably have more black people right now because of what they're being fed by the media, who have a preconceived, incorrect, negative idea of what white people are than white people maybe have of black people. I don't know. Maybe it's a 50-50 split, but it certainly is something. All groups can be racist. And the left just argues like, yeah, but only one can be systemically oppressive. Do you guys know? Maybe you guys can bring this up, the number. Do you guys know how many slaves there were in the North African sort of like Mediterranean slave trade?
I don't.
Do you know how many?
I don't even have
it. Was a million. It was a million slaves, right? People who lived on the Mediterranean coast, they were at risk. You know, you guys know about the history of North Africa, the Moors. People, and by the way, they were kidnapping white people.
Yeah. Just
to be clear, this is not something. Slavery is not something that has been racially based.
No.
Ever. Now, it was codified in...
Why does he think this is a good point? Does he not realize that, historically speaking, all matter of indentured servitude and all matter of slavery is incomprehensible when compared to chattel slavery of Africans? Like, I don't get it. This is like, does he not think that it's different? Yeah, other people were enslaved, certainly. It was a constant thing, except no one was targeted in the same way that Africans were, where they were systematically stolen from their lands and put in ships, and for as long as they were put in ships and sent to the United States or other colonies. It's like, I'm confused by this take. And also, it continued for a lot longer than the other kinds of indentured servitude or slavery. Some might even say that it's continuing to this day within the American criminal justice system, within a racist white supremacist criminal justice system in which slavery is actually legal. Still, slavery is an institutional hierarchy that the top of the ladder believes the enslaved are subhuman, that is based on race or religion. What the fuck was Crowder thinking? Yeah, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking. I don't think he's thinking. Not thinking, just vibes. How does Steven Crowder think? Well, he doesn't. But if hypothetically, if Steven Crowder thought, how does he think the slave owners justified having slaves? Why were they all black? It's just weird, you know? I mean, all slavery matters, but also for some weird reason, they just chose to enslave black people. Must have been a weird coincidence, I guess. Just a very strange coincidence that, you know, they happen to be black people from Africa. And, you know, the one drop rule and white supremacy, white purity, all of that comes from how far away they are from blackness and black people. So that must have been just, you know, additional random stuff. I love this argument because like it literally is just like the maximum, like you can only be racist when you're saying the N-word, not after, not before, but during, when the start of the finish of the N-word with a hard R, and not when you're of course singing along with a rap lyric, but like just then. Only then are you individually racist, but even then we'll look for additional context to say that you're not. This is the maximalist, this is the maximum position you can get to, okay? When this is your worldview. Saying that like slavery technically isn't race, chattel slavery of black people is not racist. It wasn't built around race. That's fire.
Into law because most slaves at a certain point in the United States were black, but you can look at other countries where they decided, oh, okay, now we're going to try and ensure that we maintain control over these slaves. And so therefore you look at what are the majority of slaves? All right.
I've talked about this before. People get very frustrated when I talk about this because they think like I'm caping for the Ottoman Empire or something. But like a great difference that I can describe to you is the Devshirme program in the Ottoman Empire. Okay. The Ottoman Empire enslaved Slavic people. They enslaved Eastern Europeans. They enslaved numerous people. There were black people that they enslaved as well. There were Berberi, slave trade and whatnot. One, they stopped way before America did. So there's that. Okay. Just like even the fucking UK stopped before America did. Okay. So there's that. And two, the way in which chattel slavery operated was drastically different. As a devshirme, you could straight up become one of the, and many did, become one of the most important people, the best educated and most important people. It was still, you know, it's still inhumane because of the origin point where you're still being removed from your family. But ultimately, to make that comparison, for example, to chattel slavery is psychotic, okay? Because the level of autonomy that you got as like within the devshirme program is insane to compare to chattel slavery, for example. Same with indentured servitude. Indentured servitude, for example, it's not ethical, it's still slavery, and I'm not trying to justify it. The comparison I'm making is that it is so much worse. Chattel slavery is unique, okay? Chattel slavery is unique. That's the point. It was, one, unique because it was race-based, okay? Targeted exclusively towards Africans, okay? On the virtue of their blackness, justified by claiming that these black Africans were not human, they were subhuman. So it was uniquely brutal in that sense as well, okay? And it was unique even in comparison to indentured servitude, because indentured servitude, another form of slavery, like that the Irish were subjected to, or the British subjected others to as well, indentured servitude did not pass on to your child, and you could buy your freedom. That doesn't make that correct. That doesn't make that a good thing. But when compared to chattel slavery, one is still worse. I don't like to engage in oppression Olympics. I think it's a really silly thing, like comparing one genocide to the other or whatever. But this is one area where you can analyze the material conditions, okay, and the oppression that people were subjected to, and very clearly say this is worse. And as a matter of fact, every historian will say that, okay? It's not even normative in that instance. It's just descriptive. I am describing to you that one form of slavery was more brutal than others, okay?
We determine them then by skin color or ethnicity or where they've come from, like the Indian people were enslaved. There are still people enslaved in the world today. Look, slavery is not uniquely American. It was never uniquely American. It still exists outside of the United States of America. Slavery was never racially motivated, to be clear. It happened in large numbers, to the tune of millions. Black people enslaving white people as well. And it's wrong across the board. The United States...
Black people were enslaving white people? What? Incredible.
It's singularly unique in, however, recognizing and ending slavery because it was incompatible with the Constitution and the...
What?
Across the board, the United States is singularly unique in, however, recognizing and ending slavery because it was incompatible.
This is why they don't want like people to learn about slavery in school, so he can just like fucking say this stuff and people won't question it. He said, one, slavery wasn't race-based, or chattel slavery wasn't race-based. And the only uniqueness of like American slavery was because it was incompatible with the Constitution. Dog, the American Constitution was literally, the United States Constitution was written by slave owners, majority slave owners, and it was absolutely constitutional. Okay, it was absolutely constitutional and protected. This notion that they had robust debates about the humanity of black people is a silly one. Okay, it took a fucking entire war and the federal government to take action against the South. And not only that, but before that, it was straight up baked into our institutions with a 3/5 rule. Okay, so I don't know what kind of fucking idiotic person could say that. I mean, this is insane. This is incredible. The 3/5 clause of the United States Constitution straight up dictates that like the African slaves were going to be considered 3/5 of a human. Okay, and the slave owners were advocating for that actually. So remember that, because there was a population of slaves in the South, and the slave owners were like, well, we want them to be not represented, but actually, we want to have more political power.